Take a deep breath. Welcome to Positive Energy. I'm Michelle Granberg. We'll be exploring the connection between wellness, spirituality, and positive thinking. We want you to live a more meaningful and empowered life. So today, I'm joined by inspirational folk singer and songwriter Sharon Silverstein. So welcome, Sharon.
Thanks for having me.
How are you?
I am great.
That's great.
Yep. Beautiful day outside.
It's a beautiful day.
Yeah,
Spring
outside and inside.
Absolutely. So we've known each other for a bunch of years.
Yeah, at least 13, maybe more.
Right.
Yeah.
And so throughout those years, I've sort of watched your journey a little bit to where you are now, and I've really admired and been inspired, certainly, by you, and been able to listen to your music, live and recorded music. And I sort of know what you're about and what's behind all of that beautiful music. And so I just brought you in today to talk a little bit about that. We've had many discussions about sort of the positive nature of life and sort of the underlying spiritual nature of life. And I know that a lot of that comes through in your work. So maybe before we get to that, just say a little bit about your background in both education and music.
Okay. Well, I have a Bachelor of Music degree with an education certificate to teach music K through 12, which I did for a long period of time in my earlier days. And around 2001 or 2002, I started my company, Living at Peace, and it was a calling. I was asked to come to this work and start a company that helps and assists people in realizing their true nature, which is love, peace, and ananda, bliss.
Beautiful.
Joy. So that has been a journey in itself, just coming from a teaching background in a public school system and then venturing out onto my own as a businesswoman. So it's been quite an adventure, and you've been a major support system.
Oh, thank you.
For that. I think I came to you in about 2002 or 2003.
Right. And
you were in the groundbreaking part of launching that company.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. So I'm glad to be a support of all that, because I really do. I do believe in you, and I believe in what you're doing, and I believe that together, we can really sort of really change things in some way or another.
Yeah.
So, your original music can be considered spiritual music, but it's not in the traditional sense, spiritual music. Your music teaches, yes?
Yes.
And it's transformative in nature, healing in nature, and it's, so a lot of what your music is based on is what we call the spiritual principles or spiritual laws or laws of nature or laws of the universe.
Yep.
And many people are familiar with that term. In fact, I was thinking about some of the authors that, there's so many wonderful books out there. Deepak Chopra is one that comes to mind. A lot of his work speaks to these universal principles.
Right.
And, for what we're talking about, one of the ones that is most familiar is law of attraction. And it's this idea that there's some other underlying way that the universe works, that the universe itself has an intelligence, and that there's other ways of creating a life that you want other than just working really hard for it, that there's an energy, there's an underlying energy that supports all of us, and that we are very much a part of that.
Right.
So I know that resonates for you, so how do you sort of, when people ask you, how do you define these principles, or how do you explain that to people?
Well, it's always a little tricky.
Depends who you're talking to.
Yeah, it depends, who you're talking to, because I always like to meet people where they're at. So if I'm educating somebody through whatever modality I'm using, just meeting that person where they're at is key, because then we're accessing something that they're already familiar with, whether that be a vibrational, emotional, vibrational frequency that's already dwelling within them, and then I can come in there and we can connect with that, and then bringing something in new, then they're more open to hearing that and more open to exploring that. So how would I explain a spiritual principle? That would be my way of doing it, and being as graceful as possible and compassionate as possible as well. That's been something I've been working on for a really long time, because I see things that I can see the end before that person who I'm working with sees the end. So it's not to push that person to the end, but to gently put up signposts so they can find their way to point B. I was taking a hike this morning and I was thinking about that point A to point B. But understanding and incorporating spiritual principles into your life, you have to know where you are first. If you don't know where your point A is, you're never going to get to point B. You know, if I don't know that I'm in New York, there's no way I can set my GPS to get to Los Angeles in a way that's going to be least resistance. You know, if I find out later that I actually started in the North Pole, then I'm really off, you know, on my GPS on my way to Los Angeles. So you have to know where you are first. So exploring with that person where they are is really, really important, emotionally, mentally, physically. It's all of that, you know, then bringing them to see, helping them see where, then if they know, seeing where point A is, they can get to point B.
So, you know, music, of course, is a beautiful vehicle for that. You know, something about the essence and the energy of music and the way that it carries us allows people to open up, I'm sure, on a whole other level. You know, as I said, release resistance, quiet their minds. So singing about and creating, you know, sound and melody around those principles is just such a wonderful vehicle for that. So we're actually going to hear from you about, hear a song that you're going to play. So can you tell us a little bit about the song that you're going to sing? Is called Begin with the End in Mind, and it really, you gave a perfect segue. So what was it that launched that particular song in your mind and had you write it and create it?
Well, I have read probably a lot of spiritual, you know, self-help books along the journey that I have to give some away because they're taking up too much room on the shelf. And
give them to me.
And this was a book written by Stephen Covey. And I think the book was named 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
It is.
Yes. And
not your traditional spiritual book, but
no, but a very
still has the principles in it, though, right?
Absolutely.
Veiled thinly, sort of.
So one of the concepts that he puts out there is about begin with the end in mind. And as I started working with this concept over the years, it has morphed a little bit more for me, because at first it was the teaching that all you have to do is visualize your perfect end result, where you want to go, your point B. But it's more than that. It's so much deeper than that. So if if somebody wants to bring something into their lives that's fairly new to them, you just can't visualize it. You actually, you have to embody the feeling of what it would feel like when you are in that manifestation, when you are at that point B. What is it going to feel like to drive into Los Angeles and see the city? You know, what would that feel like? So
that's a great concept.
Yeah.
So begin with the end in mind. Right? More than visualization, lining up with that.
Lining up with it vibrationally, emotionally.
On every level.
On every level.
On every level, being whole with that end result.
Right.
Vibrating with it. I love the whole idea of vibrating with it. So we're going to hear that song.
Okay.
Now we're going to hear a song from Sharon right now. Begin with the end in mind. So enjoy.
Visions and the dreams of Dr. King and JFK were seedlings for realities of today. Dreamers are the saviors of the world, shaping the future as it unfurls As it unfurls, I'll see the perfect end result. For me, I must begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. It shows a picture perfect every time. Begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. Yeah. A visualization to the feeling sensation brings it to the physical creation. I hold a lofty vision in my mind. Will peace come to fruition in my lifetime? In my lifetime I will see the perfect end result. For me, I must begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. Shows a picture perfect every time. Begin, yeah, with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. Ooh, yeah. Begin with the end in mind. Here we go. We all breathe the same air. We all walk on the same ground. Feel the same sun. Integrate the sounds. Like light is to the eyes, smell is to the nose. So are visions to the soul. More precious than gold. More precious than gold. I'll see perfect end result. For me, I must begin. Begin with the end in mind, in mind. Begin with the end in mind. See a picture perfect every time. Begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. It shows a picture perfect every time. Begin, yeah, with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end in mind. Begin with the end. See a picture perfect every time. Begin with the end in mind. See a picture perfect every time. Begin with the end in mind. See the perfect end result in your mind. See the perfect end result in your mind.
So Sharon, you're doing a lot of other things as well in the world. And you've started a relatively new program, I understand, called the Positive Peace Program. It's a program for both kids and adults, and it promotes self-esteem,
Right.
compassion, stress reduction, and inner peace, I'll say,
Yeah.
through music, storytelling, and yoga. So that sounds really amazing. So can you tell us
Sure.
a little bit about that?
Well, the Proactive Peace Program is a program that it was kind of birthed by a vision from myself as well as two of my colleagues. We would speak on the phone and we would talk about how children are not getting the teachings of how to be successful at life, just life,
Right.
you know, life skills in general, like
Right.
taking responsibility. I would be in a classroom and all I would hear is, he said, she said, they said. And I'm like, no, 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 we can't use he, she, or they
Right.
anymore. You have to say I. And they're
Right.
like, oh, it was really hard for them to even talk,
Right.
you know, about it from a place of I, because then the ownership goes and the feelings of it go on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard for people to own, especially children, you know. So it kind of got birthed from that place.
Got it.
And so I asked a few people who I've done work for in the past if they would allow us to come in and pilot this program, because it's a new program. We wanted to see how it went, you know, what kind of results we would get.
So
it's,
what was the response when you were from the schools at first? It took a while to sort of...
well, I was working in Woodbridge Township at the time, and I
you had your
asked
foot
my
in the door. Got
principal,
it.
you know, what do you think about this? And I laid it out and I described what the program was. It's using your voice as a way of for stress reduction. It's a stress reduction program that helps people come to that place within themselves that's peaceful. And then they know, even if they have only had that experience one time in our program,
They've
know
had it.
they've had it, and we
Right.
give them the tools
It's in their cells
to
now.
get back to it. You know,
Nice,
so even
nice.
if they've never been in a place where it feels peaceful, it feels relaxed. A lot of kids say, "Oh, I feel tired," and we talk about that, how they kind of feel like being peaceful and relaxed feels tired.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because probably you just let go of a ton of stress off of your back and your front, that your body finally goes, ah. You know, this is what relaxed feels like.
It's so great to let kids know that they can do that for themselves, right?
Right.
They can self-soothe. I mean, that's just not a tool that they get very early on. None of us do. It would be wonderful if we all did.
These are coping skills that are so needed in today's society, with all the pressures of standardized testing and doing well on the SATs, that we give them tools and techniques and strategies that they can use before they take the NJS test, before they take the SAT.
Right.
They can tone to themselves. They can do it inside. They don't even have to do it aloud, although we show them how they can do it out loud, the toning process. But they can do it inside for
Amazing.
themselves. We also give them yoga techniques, mudras. That's the way you can hold your hands in certain positions to create better energy flow in your body to reduce stress. And then my other colleague is the storyteller. So we use storytelling as a way to get them to kind of think about some of these spiritual principles in a fun way, and then be introspective. And then questions and answers we use as a means for them to, like, be curious and question the things that we are giving them, because we want them to question things.
Right.
We don't want children to just grow up and not question things. That would not be a good thing. That's when we have problems in the world, when leaders take advantage of people who don't question leadership.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, so you're really, I mean, there really is a bigger picture with all of this in terms of teaching kids, you know, characteristics, right, and tools that they're going to need much later on. And it's amazing that bridging the gap there between spirituality and school in that way, and bringing these really ancient practices into very, very modern times,
Right, in
and
a way
very
we
modern
can.
and very modern problems,
Yeah.
right, in a simple way, in a gentle way, in a way that appeals, you know, to the greater masses. So
Yeah, we also brought the program to Carrier Clinic, and we got a chance to work with some of the teenagers, girls who are residents there. So that was a amazing experience to see how in 2 hours these girls went from being so closed and shut down to giving them some tools to open up their energy so they can relax and relieve the stress and the
Right.
worries and calm their mind and calm their bodies. That
I bet they'd never experienced anything like that before.
yeah, so one of the girls, she at the beginning of the program said, you know, I have pain in my body all the time. And at the end of the program, she said, I never realized that there's an end to pain and suffering. So
It's a big moment.
Very huge moment, huge
Right.
shifts.
Right.
The shifts in consciousness, the
shifts.
magic, the miracles.
That's right. That's right. That's beautiful. And so that leads us right into sort of a little bit about kirtan. So you offer kirtan, and I love it. Am I saying it right though?
Yeah.
It is kirtan, right?
Kirtan.
So sometimes I've heard it said other ways.
Kirtan.
Kirtan,
Yeah.
kirtan.
Devotional singing.
So it's devotional singing.
chanting.
It's call and response chanting, usually in Sanskrit, which is the ancient language of India. And it's a practice that originates from India, yes, from the bhakti or devotional tradition. And it's been popularized, though, a lot in the West by Krishna Das, Deva Premal, Snanam Kaur, and
Yep.
many others. So explain kirtan, what it is, and how you came to the practice, and then we'll talk about the effects of it.
Well, yoga, in general, yoga, most people are familiar with the asana, the positions of yoga that we practice in our yoga studios around town. That's where I first got introduced to bhakti yoga or nada yoga. Nada yoga is sound yoga, and bhakti yoga is a practice of sound yoga. So I came to it through practicing yoga for the last 9-10 years. And I, being a musician and very in touch with vibrational frequencies within my body, just really took to it because Sanskrit is a vibrational language first,
Yes.
and then it's a communication language second.
Right.
So it was told to me by my teacher that the mantras or the chants that we use in kirtan were all discovered by the masters who sat in deep meditation and actually heard the Sanskrit language through vibration moving through their body, through what we call the nadis, the energy channels in the body, very similar to the meridians of of acupuncture. These nadis, I think I'm not going to get the number right, but 67,900 and something energy channels in the body.
That's a lot.
And the ones that we're most familiar with are the main ones that run up and down this way, called the chakras.
So the effect of kirtan then is opening up that energy, aligning that energy, raising the frequency of that energy, and that is sort of an automatic byproduct of it, even without, it's not intellectual. It's not an intellectual process.
It's actually, kirtan means to cut the mind. So it's actually to cut through the mind.
Right.
And into the into the emotional body and through vibration. So using the Sanskrit language, and chanting these mantras over and over and over, which is really liberation of your mind.
Right.
The vibrations will move through those particular nadis that are associated with those mantras. So, so it helps move the energy in the body to raise our awareness, to help us become more conscious. So when we move around in the world, we're doing it in a more conscious, more aware way.
So it's something you really have to experience. So I hope that people will experience. All I can say from my own testimonial, and I'm sure from yours as well, is that it's definitely one of the only things that brings me into a place of stillness. After kirtan, you really feel that spaciousness. There's just a space. There's a
space.
stillness. There's an
yeah.
openness that you feel. There's a harmonious feeling that you feel that is something that can't be conveyed even through explaining it. It really has to be experienced.
Yes.
Is there any way I could put you on the spot to do a little chant?
Sure.
Right?
One of my favorites that I come to, is either an opening prayer or a closing prayer, and one that is probably most accessible to people is Om Asatoma. So Om Asatoma Satkamaya Tamasoma Jyoti Gamaya Mrityoma amritam gamaya. Om asatoma sargamaya. Tamasoma jyoti gamaya. Mrityamamritam gamaya. Om asatoma sargamaya. Tamasoma jyoti gamaya. Mrityamamritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Nice. Wonderful. Thank you for,
You know,
thank you
lead
for
me
doing
from
that.
the unreal to the real. Lead me from the darkness to the light.
Beautiful.
Lead me from death to immortality.
Beautiful.
The cycle, the death and rebirth of all there is.
That's a beautiful way to
Peace, peace, peace.
to leave this and to bring that energy in, and I feel it. So that's wonderful. So is there anything else maybe you want to just share a little bit about how people can reach you? You know,
Yeah,
how can people contact you, your business, your website?
Absolutely. It's livingatpeace.com. Real easy, all one word, livingatpeace.com. And from there, you can send me an email, give me a phone call. We have many different programs that we offer. The kirtan, the drumming, drumming circles, for health and wellness, for team building, for also, I'm leaving something out, our performances as well.
There's so much.
My music. There's a link there to CD Baby or iTunes. You can download all the music there.
Right.
So you can just Google Sharon Silverstein Sharon Silverstein and the Peace Project, and you can get the music on iTunes or CD Baby.
Wonderful,
All
wonderful. I definitely recommend all of that.
Yeah, thanks.
So I just want to share my information again. My websites are relaxationandhealing.com and michellegranberg.com. I operate a wonderful mind, body, and spirit center in Plainsboro, which is near Princeton, where we're filming now in New Jersey. So please reach out and contact me. I'd love to hear about what you would love to hear about, and certainly your feedback is welcome. So you can contact me at 609-750-7432 or relaxationandhealing@gmail.com. So it's been wonderful having Sharon Silverstein
Thanks for
here.
having me.
Thank you for being
Yeah,
here.
namaste.
Namaste. And
Namaste.
thank all of you as well for being here. I hope you'll join us again on Positive Energy. Again, I'm Michelle Granberg, and have a positive day and really enjoy the journey.